And of course, we have the ever-present problem with installers, and that seems to get worse. I talked to a guy a month or two ago who was out of Pennsylvania. He was advertising in Florida for tile installers, moving them up to Pennsylvania and guaranteeing them an income to get jobs, and that put him well ahead of his competitors, and that seems to be a problem most everybody has.
Yeah, I was at StarNet recently in Boston, and I spoke with both independent guys and guys who were with the union. The union guys, they didn't seem to have as much of trouble because, you go through the apprentice program, you have many years of training. They have no trouble getting fresh blood. But on the other side, just the independent guys, they are having trouble. So.
Well, of course, and I guess that's the other end of this problem. I've talked to many retailers who seem to have solved the problem in their part of the world by either putting installers on the payroll or by paying them more than the guy down the street. That seems to solve the problem, and I'm wondering if this problem exists because many retailers haven't decided that that's a way out.
Yeah, you have to value your team because no one's going to stick around if you don't pay them enough, if you don't give them a living wage, if you don't recommend their work to other people. The way it is right now, it's basically a buyer's market for installers. They can go wherever they want since it's such a shortage, and they're going to go to the people that, really show that they care about their work.
Well, and that's the case, and this was recently, more than a handful of retailers. So, yeah, I pay them a little bit more than the guy down the street, and that seems to really work.
Yeah, and then another thing, I heard this at StarNet too. A lot of people now are starting to go to the local high schools, talking to the guidance counselors, trying to get more kids in the trade. Because they said what happened for the past couple of years, everyone's been pushing, you should go to a university, even if it's just a community college. And some of these kids, they don't want to be there. If they knew that option was out there to work with their hands, be in the trade, they'd be in the trade. So I think they're starting to reach out to that again, understanding that you need to. It's not gonna bear any fruit right this second because they're still young, but that's how you get your next generation. You got to make it attractive.
We had, in fact, this was a conversation we had on Floor Radio probably 2 weeks ago. This was a regular that I have on the radio on a regular basis who happens to be on the Board of Education for the state of Georgia, and they've initiated a program several years ago where they inform high school kids as to what jobs are available out there so they can begin aiming in that direction as opposed to just sort of seat of the pants, I want to be, a hairdresser or something, and end up with an overabundance of people that want to go in that field and you don't have the job opportunities for them.
Well, one of the, I'm trying to think the word here, one of the strategies that the people are using, a guy did a presentation at StarNet about attracting the younger audience, and he says just lay out for them, how much debt you're going to have with a college education versus how you'll be making money immediately if you're doing the piecework or by yard, whatever it comes with installation. And some people, the kids will really get it. They'll see that wait, I'm already $100,000 in debt, and now I have to get a car, I have a family, I have a mortgage. How am I going to pay for this? Whereas if you're an installer, and if you're not going to go into the higher education, you're like, this isn't for me, you can immediately be making money. So.
Well, and two, I think that all of the trades at this point in time, all of the building trades appear to be in dire need of talent.
Yes.
And I think probably it's going to be difficult for a floor covering recruiter to maybe take somebody away from a high-tech field or who knows, some of the builder fields. It seems like you have a little bit tougher road to hoe getting people. I don't think there's a lot of glamour necessarily associated with putting down floor covering.
No, that's true. There isn't a lot of glamour, but there is good pay, and there is a chance to be creative. We just had our FCI Installation Awards presentation today, and, I've been, 13 years now with floor covering installer and floor trends, and every year there's something new that I see, and that amazes me. A decade in, a decade almost, another half decade in, and I'm still seeing things every year that shock me, that amaze me. If you push yourself, you can be creative in any field you want. So. Yeah.
Well, there's an awful lot of, in fact, walking around here, there's a lot of creativity among the exhibitors at the show or any trade show. And I don't think they get enough credit for the R&D work that they do and the innovative products that they come up with that save time and money and make life a lot easier.
Well, and that's the thing too. When it comes to those R&D, these are new technologies, new products that leads eventually to new standards. It leads to new ways of installation. So it kills me when you still run into the guys that are like, "Oh, I've been doing this for 20 years the same way. There's nothing different." I mean, I'm fine. You're basically you bought the job when it fails.
Well, one thing, and of course, I should say we're sitting in the WFCA stand here at TISE East, and they are now affiliated with CFI. And they're setting up schools around the country, and we'll have a number of additional schools, and are in the recruiting and training business. So that is, again, it's not going to solve it overnight, but I think that they are producing talent in this business. And, you know, we've talked about this problem for as long as I've been in this industry, and they're finally doing something about it.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, I remember hearing rumblings about this years ago. And now it's like, now that it's actually crisis point, they're like, oh, maybe we should actually do something. Like every single show I go to now, there's some type of seminar, some type of discussion on what are we going to do about the installation problem. It's like, this isn't a surprise, guys. We've been mentioning this for years.
Well, as I said, there are people out there that have solved it themselves years ago for their little operation and their little part of the world. So getting back to creativity again, there are those creative people that have solved it for themselves years ago and continue to, and there's more, you know, that are joining that group. But it still is needed to have some sort of widespread solution, and to have an organization like WFCA now that they have the CFI under their wing do something on a larger scale.
Yeah, I mean, any way to get the word out there and advance the field in any way, it's good for everybody. It's good for retailers. It's good for installers. It's good for the customers, and that's the one we want to make sure are happy at the end of the day. So,
another thing, and I'm not sure how, you know, what the level of awareness here is, but we had Jeff King on the program a short time ago, who is legal counsel for the WFCA. And he was talking about the way the Labor Department is now interpreting what constitutes an employee versus a contractor. And this could be a devastating way of looking at things for the independent retailer, not only having to hire people who were contractors up to this point, but looking back as to how much they should have paid a given contractor back over the months, years. I'm not sure how far this would go back, but this could be potentially a devastating move in this industry for an awful lot of independents.
well, that's why I think it's important to align yourself with WFCA and organizations like that. I mean, all the floor covering associations that are associated with WFCA, because they have the legal clout. I mean, they have legal counsel on retainer for just these types of things, and they can help maybe fight for you. Whereas if you're doing this on your own, I mean, this is devastating. I mean, I went to, I don't even remember when it was last year sometime, and they actually talked about like how they're going to see hours now, how, you know, like tools now are going to have to be bought by the retailer, and like everything's going to have to be, yeah, like you're saying, back taxes. And this is going to devastate people. I mean, some people aren't going to be able to dig out of it, and they're going to go under because they don't know what's coming. So if you're an independent and you're not involved in the associations in any way, I mean, you need to get involved. You need to be part. So, you know, strengthen numbers. If you're on your own and you're fighting on your own, you're just going to be swallowed up. At least if you get some type of clout behind you, you can maybe postpone things, or at least talk things through, figure out a plan, put a strategy in place, because this is going to catch a lot of people unawares. They're just going to lose their pants.
And really understand where the battles are, because the WFCA is doing something about this and maybe can mitigate this. I don't have a good feel for that, but that would be a good place to stand at this point if you're an independent retailer.
Yeah, you have to be involved in an association. Some type of trade knowledge is good, but in order to really be part of this group now, the way it is, with after the economy basically picked the bones clean of anybody who was just in it to make a quick buck, and now these guys are just trying to make paycheck to paycheck. They're in trouble if they're not part of some association.
Good place to leave it, Mike.
Okay.
Thanks very much, and good work that you're doing with both Floor Trends and Floor Covering Installer.
Thank you, and good work you're doing with Talk Floor as well.
Thanks very much. We've been talking with Mike Chmielecki. He is the editor of Floor Covering Installer and senior editor and acting editor, I should say, of Floor Trends, and this is Talk Floor TV.